Okay, a good Vach and a good Yantif. Tonight is the 5th of Tevis, and it's the anniversary of the date when the federal court awarded the Rebbe's library to Chabad Lubavitch. And it's not just a victory in the court about books, but it was very clear how the Rebbe looked at this court case as something that deeply affected him. Not just deeply affected him, but something that was connected to deep pain, and the redemption and the victory was commensurate to the amount of pain that was experienced. Let's say it this way, as Rebbe said, that just like when the Alter Rebbe was released from prison, there was a tremendous relief after his release from prison, commensurate to the pain. So too the Rebbe said about the 5th of Tevis, when the federal court awarded the Svarim to the library to the Rebbe and Lubavitch. The Rebbe said that it was similar to that event, and that we should learn from what happened then, by the time of the Alter Rebbe, to what's happening now. What was happening then? So the Rebbe mentioned how that we learn something from our enemies, we learn something from our detractors. That the Alter Rebbe saw that there was a complaint, there was a complaint against the study of chassidus, and the Alter Rebbe said that's what the redemption, the Alter Rebbe's freedom, has to bring to, in addition to the study of chassidus. In a similar way, the claim of the opposing the plaintiff, or the claiming that they had that the Rebbe's library belongs to them, were saying that Lubavitch is inactive, Lubavitch does not exist, and therefore all the books should belong to the family, because there is no such thing as a Rebbe, no such thing as Lubavitch. Even though the claim was baseless, but nevertheless we're supposed to learn from the claim, we're supposed to learn from everything that we see. And so if their claim was that nothing's happening in Lubavitch, what we have to learn from this is to have to increase the activity of spreading Torah and Judaism in the spirit of chassidus. So, in one sentence, what I'm trying to say is that the decree against the Alter Rebbe brought a new revelation of chassidus. The Rebbe Cashapp said that an olive, when the olive is crushed, more oil comes out. The oil comes out of the olive when it's crushed. In a similar way, the Alter Rebbe, the teachings that he gave after his release from prison, were a whole different level. Were expanded exponentially compared to what he taught before his imprisonment. In a similar way, we could see the growth of Lubavitch after the 5th of Tevis. It's exponentially greater than it was before, and it's a result of the challenge that there's this growth. So, in this context, I wanted to share more about, last couple of weeks we're talking about the debate that the Alter Rebbe held against his opponents. And in this similar context, I wanted to bring out the growth that happened as a result of that debate, of that challenge to the Alter Rebbe and to his teachings. So, as we learned the last couple of weeks, the Alter Rebbe had held this public debate because the detractors against chassidus were becoming very vociferous and violent, and it wasn't good. And there was a lot of it. It was only because of ignorance that they thought that Hasidim were trying to go against Hashem and against Torah. And so the Alter Rebbe held this public debate in defense of Chassidus, to show that it's not what they think it is. So as a result of this challenge, as a result of this debate, there was also exponential growth. The Alter Rebbe's victory in Minsk in the debate against the great Torah giants, and bringing out the authenticity of the path that he had revealed, caused many people to join him when he left Minsk, because of his victory, because it was clear the righteousness, the correctness of his path. So many people who were previously weren't inclined to the path of chassidus, they joined the Alter Rebbe. They traveled with him. There was subsequent events also as a result of this that caused more an expansion of chassidus. So let's go to I think something I mentioned last week perhaps. The Alter Rebbe went to a city called Smilon, and in that city there were many great Torah giants, and their sagacity was well known. And the Alter Rebbe, he spent a week in that city, and during that week he inspired 10 more serious Torah students to cleave to the path of chassidus. Among them was a man named Avram Berach. And when he first came to see the Alter Rebbe in a private audience, the Alter Rebbe said to him this: you could have a tree, but if the tree does not bear fruit, it's ilon srak. It doesn't really have the same value as a fruit tree. And the Alter Rebbe said, in a similar way, a person could be a tremendous Torah scholar. They could be, in the language of the Alter Rebbe, a chassidus. The chassidus means someone who is proficient in the entire Talmud. But what is the benefit of the proficiency in the entire Talmud if the person doesn't illuminate their surroundings, if they just keep it all to themselves? So the Alter Rebbe said that you can't be satisfied with your own knowledge of Torah, but you have to share it. You have to illuminate others. Continuing also in the theme of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is about bringing light to the outside. So we have to can't be satisfied with just giving light into our own homes, but we have to bring light to our surroundings. So the Alter Rebbe told this man, what is the benefit of your Torah, of your Torah and your prayers, if you don't influence and inspire others? And the Alter Rebbe said that the Gemara says, Rava says, the Racham Rabbanon Havlu B'nin Rabbanon. The literal translation of this is, those who love Torah scholars will have children who are Torah scholars. But Alter Rebbe explained a deeper meaning to this same statement of Rava. Said the Alter Rebbe, the Rachim Rabbanon. If you cause Torah scholars to love, you cause Torah scholars to have love, to love Hashem, you open up their hearts to have love, that will give you the merit that your children will also be Torah scholars. The Rachim Rabbanon, if you cause a Torah scholar to love Hashem, then your children will also be blessed to love Hashem. So this Avram Berach was very inspired, and on his way back from Liyazhne to Smilon, he stopped off in a city called Leple, and in Leple he created, he brought fruits, new fruits, as the Alter Rebbe blessed him, that audience, that he should not just be a tree, but a tree that bears fruit, and he inspired other people to learn about chassidus, and one of them was Rabbi Mordechai Lepler. Mordechai Lepler, who was the patriarch of a large dynasty of Chassidim, he was inspired by this Avram Berach after this audience with the Alter Rebbe. One of the teachings that the Alter Rebbe shared at the debate in Minsk is on a Mishnah in Brachas, chapter 6, Mishnah 8, where it says in the Mishnah, if you drink water when you're thirsty, you say a bracha shahakal. You say the bracha when you drink water, only if you're thirsty, because water has no taste. So you only say a bracha on water if you're thirsty. If you're not thirsty, you don't say a bracha on the water. So the Alter Rebbe explained the inner meaning of this Mishnah. The Alter Rebbe said water refers to Torah. Hashoyis Mayim L'Tzamai means that someone is diligent in his Torah study. He really is thirsty for Torah. He's studying Torah he's very diligent in it. What's the sign that someone is indeed really a diligent Torah scholar, that they're really into it, they're really connecting to their learning? The Alter Rebbe said, a sign for this is oimer. What does this person say? What does this kind of person feel? A real Torah scholar who's studying Torah with thirst. What does that person say? What does he feel? What does he think? Shahakol niya b'dvarei. He feels how everything is created by Hashem. That if that person has that sentiment in his heart and his mind, that is the kind of person that is really getting the Torah, is really studying Torah with the correct, appropriate thirst. The similar teaching from the Avnei Nezer, the Sachat Shaverav, he said this. He said, if someone studies Torah for its own sake, then Oimer, then Hashem says, Shahakol niya b'dvarei. Whatever this guy says, I will fulfill his words. Tzaddik goyzer Kadosh Baruch Hu mekayim. When a tzaddik makes a decree, the Hashem fulfills the decree. So if you study Torah for its own sake, you're studying Torah thirstily, then Shahakol niya b'dvarei, then everything will be as you say. So although it's a teaching from the Avnei Nezer, but there's a similar teaching in the Gemara. The Gemara says, if you teach someone Torah, if you inspire someone else to study Torah, if kolam melamed ben amaretz Torah, anyone who teaches Torah to an ignorant person, Hashem says, if you take something beautiful out of something ugly, if you teach someone who is not proficient in Torah, an ignorant person Torah, God will do whatever you say. Even if God has a decree, God will nullify His decree for your sake and the merit of you bringing out the beauty of a Jewish soul. So, one of the Torah scholars that was inspired to follow the Alter Rebbe, as I mentioned, was Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac of Vitebsk. Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac was he was a Rav, a rabbi in Vitebsk for 60 years, and before that, he was another smaller town near Vitebsk, Derovich, for 50. He was a very, very eminent Torah scholar, and he accompanied the Alter Rebbe when he left Yozhne. And as I think I mentioned it, but I want to say more details about it. He said that when we came to the Alter Rebbe, we thought that we weren't missing anything. We thought we have everything. We're just coming to the Alter Rebbe, that he should give us more. He should open up for us the treasure house of Torah. That's what we thought we're coming for. We didn't realize that we're missing something. We thought we have it all. We thought angels are jealous of us. However, when it came to the Alter Rebbe opened up two windows. One window, he said, was to empty out all of the impurity that accumulated through the thousands of pages of Talmud that we studied, because of all the Torah that we studied, that it caused so much arrogance, so much impurity. So the Alter Rebbe opened up one window to release all the impurity, and another window to bring in a spirit of purity, to bring in a spirit of reverence for Hashem, true reverence for Hashem. So Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac of Vitebsk, he was traveling with the Alter Rebbe, and he was a preeminent Torah scholar, and a discussion came up about the blessing we say when we travel. The blessing, as we know, is called Tfilas Haderech, and they had a discussion about this blessing. This blessing is an unusual blessing in that it ends off with Baruch Atah, but doesn't begin with Baruch Atah. It concludes with Baruch Atah, doesn't start with Baruch Atah. So the question is, what is the classification of this bracha? How do we define this bracha? If I remember correctly, the halacha is it's better to eat something and say the after blessing, like alamicha, eats a cookie and say alamicha after you have the cookie, before saying tfilas haderech. That way you could start al tfilas haderech with the bracha. But that's only a hiddur, that's a more way of beautifying the mitzvah, beautifying the blessing. But this blessing, as the conclusion of this discussion with Rabbi Isaac, was that kovei bracha la'atzmei. It doesn't need to have a bracha before. It's kosher it's a standalone bracha. Though it doesn't begin with baruch, it's a standalone bracha. So Alter Rebbe said that the prayer for the journey is a prayer for the journey of our life, and every day of our life is not a part of the journey. So the Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac, he, after this encounter with the Alter Rebbe, he said this prayer every single day of his life. Every day of his life, he would ask Hashem for success in his journey. And he wasn't, but the previous Rebbe explains, this guy wasn't a frightened kind of person. He actually once visited, in his first visit to the Alter Rebbe said there's no reason to worry. And he took that so deeply to heart that even when he had things happen in his life that were real challenging things, he said, why should I worry? The Alter Rebbe said not to worry. And he did not worry. In fact, the Tzemach Tzedek said about him that his Torah teaching is a Mishnah Brura. He has such a clear speech, such a clear perspective on Torah. Why is such a clear perspective of Torah? Because he had no worries at all. So he lived a very long life. He lived to 97 plus, and he wasn't afraid of anything. He didn't have anything to worry about. And yet he was concerned, and he said this prayer every single day. Why is he this prayer every day? Asking Hashem that I should be able to do the mission Hashem gave me. That it feels that I should go on the road that Hashem wants me to go on. That was his prayer. And a similar thing happened to the previous Rebbe. When the previous Rebbe visited America the second time, the previous Rebbe visited Lakewood. They traveled from New York to Lakewood, New Jersey. On the way to Lakewood, the previous Rebbe said, Tfil Sadarach. And in this prayer, the previous Rebbe mentioned how there were older Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe that would say this prayer every single day, like Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac of Vitebsk. So this debate, as I mentioned, caused so many people to embrace the teachings of chassidus and to learn more than they had known before about this opened up the whole world. The Alter Rebbe had given a new teaching, which caused a little bit of an uproar. The teaching was on a Mishnah in the tractate of Shabbos in Epei Vav. It says, "Kol bali shir yitzim b'shir and mshachim b'shir." Literally, that means that all animals who have a leash, although the Torah says that not only are we not allowed to work on Shabbos, we're not allowed to cause our animals to work on Shabbos as well. However, the Mishnah says that an animal is allowed to walk out with a leash and be drawn by a leash. I'm not getting into the halachic details about animals and leashes right now, but that's the words of the Mishnah. An animal is allowed to be drawn by a leash on Shabbos. So Alter Rebbe explained that the word leash, shir, also comes from the word song. And the Alter Rebbe says there are two kinds of song. There's a song of souls, and there's a song of angels. The song of angels, prophets could hear the songs of angels. The songs of souls, prophets cannot hear their song. But every time a soul is sent to a new place or is drawn to a new place, yoitzim b'shir and meshachim b'shir, the way they ascend to a new world, and the way they descend to a lower world, is always through a song. So this was a teaching the Alter Rebbe gave. And the Chassidim in Shklov were very upset about this teaching. They knew this teaching was true, was from the Alter Rebbe, but the reason they were upset was because they knew this would cause a whole circus among the detractors of the Alter Rebbe. Because on the surface it's talking about animals on leashes, and the Alter Rebbe is taking it to a whole new place to souls and angels and songs. Anyways, this is what happens. The Alter Rebbe comes to Shklov, and in Shklov there were many people had heard about the Alter Rebbe's genius, Alter Rebbe's knowledge and Torah, and they prepared questions to ask the Alter Rebbe, just like when the Alter Rebbe went to Minsk. He answered everyone's questions. They were hoping the Alter Rebbe came to Shklov, he would answer everyone's question as well. Everyone's questions. So when the Alter Rebbe came into the shul, the Alter Rebbe said, instead of answering the questions, the Alter Rebbe said, we're going to sing a nigun. We're going to sing a song. Why should we sing a song? So the Alter Rebbe said, because all souls and all angels, the way they ascend is through a song. And the Alter Rebbe sang a song. And when he sang the song, all of the people that were in the room were elevated to a new place, and a place where all their questions were answered. One of the people that was present then was a man named Rabbi Yosef Kolboy. Rabbi Yosef Kolboy, his name Kolboy means everything was in him. It was a name he was given by his contemporaries because of his incredible knowledge of Torah. So Rabbi Yosef Kolbe said that he had 4 questions that he had asked all the scholars, the greatest scholars of his time, and no one could answer the questions that he had. He had these 4 strong questions. And these are the questions he had hoped to ask the Alter Rebbe. And then when the Alter Rebbe sang the song, all of a sudden all these questions were answered. He said, you can't, he said, Rabbi Yosef Kolbe said, I felt like a little child. When the Alter Rebbe sang that song, I felt like a child. And Chassidim call that song the Matan Torah song. Unfortunately, we don't have that song. We don't know what that song was, but that's the name of the nigun, the nigun of Matan Torah, the song of the giving of the Torah. And as a result, of course, of that experience, many more people also joined the ranks of the Alter Rebbe's followers and Chassidim. That's the part I wanted to share about the debate. I want to share also one more story I heard today from Rabbi Yankee Reichik, amazing story about his father. He heard the story from Isaac Lefkowitz, whose father was a part of the story. Rabbi Reichik's father, Shmuel David Reichik, Olav Shalom, one of his responsibilities, even here in Los Angeles, where he was sent as an emissary of the Rebbe, he also collected funds for the Rebbe's central institutions. And one of the fundraisers for the Rebbe's central institutions was on Simchas Torah, people would pay for the merit of the verses of Ata Haresa. People would pay for the merit of those verses. The verses were cited by the Rebbe. The Ata Haresa was recited 3 times. So the first time the Rebbe said all the verses, and the second time the Rebbe said the first and last of those verses aloud, and everyone would repeat it, and so people would buy the merit, the schus of those verses. So Rabbi Reichik came to visit a certain Mr. Moskowitz in LA in the early 60s, and before he visited him, Mr. Moskowitz's nephew, Rabbi Weiss Alvashal, the renowned philanthropist, called him up and said to him, listen, my friend Shmuel David Reichik is coming to visit you. He's going to ask you to donate in merit of the Ata Haresa. Let me tell you good advice. You should not put a number on the check. You should send the check to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe knows exactly what you should be giving to tzedakah. Let the Rebbe choose for you. It wasn't something the Rebbe did often, but there were occasions where the Rebbe would choose the amount to be written on a check, and that's what this Mr. Moskowitz agreed to do. And he gave this blank check to Rabbi Reichik and said the Rebbe should fill out whatever I'm supposed to be giving. Okay. A little while later, he gets a call from the bank. Hi, Mr. Moskowitz, there's a check here for $4,000. Do you want to honor this check? So he didn't know what to do, because $4,000 for him in the early 60s was quite a lot of money. He wasn't expecting anything near that amount. So he called up his cousin in Williamsburg, and his cousin said to him, these people are going to drive you crazy, they're going to bother you, you just better give them money, or who knows what's going to happen. All right, he gave the bank permission to honor the check, and miraculously, he said, a short while later, he had an investment, and the investment was successful, but it wasn't just successful. It was successful to the tune of $40,000 beyond what he had expected, exactly $40,000 beyond what he expected to net through this investment. So he had made back 10 times as much as the tzedakah that he had given. As the Torah says, Hashem says, you could test me, Hashem says, about the mitzvah of tzedakah, that Hashem will pay you back whatever you invest in tzedakah. So, Baruch Hashem, we are entering now a new week, and we're entering the Yontiv of Hey Tevis, the Yontiv of victory, and it's a Yontiv when the victory came, with just like Yaakov discovered Yosef was alive, it was a sudden joy, a sudden rejuvenation of Yaakov's spirit. The Rebbe mentioned that verse also, the day of Hey Tevis, V'atechi ruach Yaakov avim, the spirit of Yaakov, their father, was revived. So we should merit to see the revival of the spirit of all the Jewish people with the victory of our soldiers, the victory of Am Yisrael, the victory of Israel, the victory of the coming Mashiach. should be taka didan notzach, mheira v'yameinu mamish, a good yivach and a good yantif.